Hey everyone, and welcome to my review of the Ride Concepts Powerline, Wildcat, and Coaster Slides. Introduction out of the way, let's talk a little bit about Ride Concepts as a company. This company was started just over a year ago in California by a family who was simply looking for some more durable riding shoes. And with that, they have created a company that now makes some of the most durable riding shoes that you can buy. And with that, today I'm going to be reviewing 3 separate types of shoes from them, all of which I've had some experience with over the past couple of months. And for full disclosure, yes, I do represent this brand and they did send me these shoes, but no bias is coming from me today. So that being said, let's get into the review of these shoes. First things first, let's give a quick overview of the 3 different shoes that we're going to be talking about today, starting with the Wildcat. The Wildcat has an EVA midsole as well as a Rubber Kinetics 6.0 high grip rubber outsole. It's got the extra ankle protection that you can see here with a power strap for added stability. It's also got a elastic lace tuck here in the front. If we take a look at the inside here, it's got a D3O material insole to help absorb impacts and reduce fatigue. And when we take a look at the toe, it's got a rubber coating on it to help protect your toes. Now moving on to the Powerline. When we take a look at the Powerline, it's got a lot of the same features as the Wildcat, including the elastic lace tuck here, the EVA midsole, and the Rubber Kinetics outsole, except this time the Rubber Kinetics outsole is their 4.0 max grip option. It's also got a few other features, including instead of just a rubber coating on here, this has a custom molded rubber toe cap as well as heel support and protection back here. It's also got the same D3O insole on the inside for impact absorption and reduction of fatigue. But in addition to that, it's also got D3O in the ankle protection area right here. And if you hadn't noticed, it's got a raised ankle protection area on the inside, whereas the outside stays a low top. And that's the highlights for the Powerline. Now let's move on to the Coaster. The Coaster Slide contains their exact same Rubber Kinetics outsole of the 4.0 max grip option. It's also got an adjustable Velcro strap here, and it's got an EVA material footbed along with engineered metatarsal support, and all of these highlights came straight from their website. So with that being said, let's move from their website over to my personal opinions of all of these shoes. And with that, I felt there were a few different categories that we needed to talk about in rating and reviewing a shoe. And the first of those that came up in my mind was the grip. So let's talk about the grip of the Powerline shoe. Take a look at the bottom here. You can see that it's pretty worn right now, but I will promise you, and in total honesty here, these shoes grip exactly the same today as they did when they were new. I do have metal pedals, but regardless of what type of pedals I have, this review is about my personal experience with the shoes, and my personal experience with these Powerline shoes is that they grip today exactly the same as they did when I took them out of the box and rode them for the first time. And something I missed in the highlights is that the Powerline has a recessed area in the toe and the heel meant to help out with the situations, like it says on their website, a hike-a-bike situation. I don't really deal with that, but I did feel in certain situations, like at the trails, when you're pushing your bike up the roll-in, or when you're at a skate park, tiptoeing your way back up a quarter pipe after you've fallen, that I had enough grip to get to the top of these things, and I wasn't ever worried about slipping out and falling backwards. And one other thing about the grip of these shoes is that there's never been a situation where I couldn't move my foot around on the pedal and adjust as necessary. A situation where I do a crank flip and catch in the wrong spot of my foot and then need to move it before the next jump or the next thing that I'm doing. I've never had to deal with my foot getting stuck and not being able to move. So while I'm applying pressure on the pedals and needing my grip, they are rock solid. They never move. They never slip out on me. But when I need them to, I can adjust things as necessary. So that's it for the Powerline. Let's move on to talking about the grip of the Wildcat. So if you take a look at the bottoms here, these still look absolutely fantastic. So this is 1 month of midsummer hard riding, which you know what that means if you're an experienced rider. And this is 3 months of mid-summer into the fall of very, very hard riding multiple times a week. So when it comes to the Wildcat, these do grip a little bit less than the Powerline, but that's because they're designed to grip a little bit less. These are the 6.0 high grip on the scale of the Rubber Kinetics outsoles that they have, so naturally they're designed to grip a little bit less, but it was never a situation where I felt like my feet were gonna slip off the pedals or I was doing a trick and my feet fell off of the pedals because they didn't grip as good as the Powerline. I never felt that the grip wasn't up to par on these shoes. And just like I said with the Powerline, there was never a situation when I was riding these where I needed to adjust my feet but couldn't do so. I could always move and adjust things as I needed to, but when it came down to it, applying pressure and being rock solid on the pedals was never an issue. It was always rock solid. Now, let's move on to talking about the coaster slides. These, if you remember, are the exact same max grip technology 4.0 DST rubber kinetics of the Powerline, so naturally they grip just as good as the Powerline. As you can see, I haven't ridden in them nearly as much as the Powerline, but when I did, it legitimately felt like I had a real shoe on as far as the grip goes. Crank flips work. Everything that you would think would work works because it's the exact same gripping technology on the bottom as the Powerline. It's just missing the recessed toe and heel. And the next category on my list is the look of the shoe, which is something that is totally subjective and individual to the person who's buying the shoes. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but we'll start out with the Powerline. I love the way these shoes look, especially the fact that they have a low top on the outside and a mid top on the inside. I just think they look good. Not everybody feels the same, but I like the way these shoes look. I think the RC placement over here is not too big, it's not too small, and it's in the right spot, as well as the shoelace eyelets right here. You can see they're squared and kind of like futuristic looking. I just overall like the look of these shoes. Then when it comes to the Wildcat, I like the look of these shoes more, but as you'll hear as we progress with the review, there's a few things about this shoe that make me enjoy the Powerline a little bit more, even though I like the looks of these more. Then when it comes to the coaster slide, man, I just love the look of these shoes. I love the hexagon pattern that we've got here. I love that the bottoms are the same as the actual riding shoes. And to be totally honest, these shoes right here are the reason that I was first attracted to Ride Concepts, because I love riding in my flip-flops. And to see a pair of flip-flops with a riding bottom on them, meant for riding, maybe not necessarily meant for doing tricks in them, but meant for riding, was just awesome. And with that, these are my shoe of choice when I'm not riding in the summertime. Of course, it's snowing here in Ohio now, so I can't wear these as much, but I love these shoes. Now, moving on, let's talk about the comfort of these shoes, starting with the Powerline again. So when it comes to the Powerline shoe, I'm not totally sure how to explain this, but when you put this shoe on, it's like your foot gets more comfortable. I don't know if it's to do with the padding or the way that it just fits on your foot, but for some reason, putting this shoe on makes your foot more comfortable than without a shoe on. Another thing in regards to comfort with the Powerline is that this microfiber front here over your toes legitimately makes a breeze in your shoe. So while you're riding, you can feel airflow through the front of your shoe, which is something that I have legitimately never felt before in another shoe. It was a very big surprise when I put these on for the first time and rode across the skate park and felt airflow through my shoe. It's something that helps keep your feet from sweating as much, and I've found that since it's gotten colder, it didn't make my feet cold either. And with that, the Powerline has been my shoe of choice on and off the bike recently, but there have been a few times where I was just running out the door as fast as I could, needed to slip something on without tying it, or for Halloween, my costume required a different shoe that I had than this one. And in both of these situations, when I wear these other shoes and I'm standing on my feet for too long or walking too far, my feet just start to hurt, to be totally honest. The bottoms don't conform to your feet the way that these ones do, so your feet just feel uncomfortable, and over time it just makes your feet hurt. So every time I wear shoes that aren't these and I'm standing or doing anything other than just sitting for long periods of time, I notice the difference and I miss these shoes. So now let's talk about the comfort of the Wildcat. Like I said before, I only rode these shoes for a month before I got the Powerline and started wearing those while riding. But that just means that when I got the Powerline, these became my shoe of choice for daily wear outside of riding. And to be 100% and totally honest, this strap right here is awesome for support while riding. But when you're not riding and you're just wearing them, the extra time that it takes to put the shoe on is actually noticeable, because with this strap, you have to separate the top so much more to get your foot to go in just as easy as it does on the Powerline without having to do anything at all, because naturally it doesn't have the strap. So that can be a pro or a con. If you're only going to wear these for riding and you want that extra support, then it's a great thing to have. But if you don't plan on wearing these riding all the time and you're going to wear them out and about, expect to have a trade-off of extra support for extra time to put on the shoe. Other than that, these shoes are just slightly less comfortable for some reason than the Powerline. Like I said before about the Powerline, it just feels comfortable when you put them on. These, you're just putting on a shoe, and naturally that's going to come with a lower price tag, which these have. But that being said, they're not uncomfortable either. They're still better than the other shoes that I was talking about wearing out, going out of the house fast or from a Halloween costume. These are still more comfortable than those. Now, when it comes to the coaster slide, I've already hyped these things up. These are the most comfortable flip-flops, slides, sandals, whatever you want to call them, that I have ever worn in my life. And I will never wear another flip-flop or sandal as long as these are made, because they are so extremely comfortable. This EVA material in here is very soft, and then the metatarsal support is something that you don't really notice at first whenever you get these shoes. You're just like, oh yeah, that's there. Then you wear them, you get used to it, and then if for whatever reason you put on another sandal that doesn't have that, immediately you notice and immediately you miss this. One huge aspect of comfort in the BMX world is the stiffness of the bottom of the shoe. When it comes to the Powerline, as you can see here, they don't really bend downward. They do bend up a little bit, but these shoes have what I would say is a medium to high stiffness in the sole of the shoe, which you can feel your pedals underneath and you can feel what's going on, but at the same time, you're never worried about like landing hard and bruising your heels or hurting your feet by landing super hard on the soles, because they're thick enough to handle anything that you can throw at them, but also thin enough to feel your pedals at the same time. Now, I know that's not for everyone, and I know that a lot of people really do like that super thin where you can feel everything and your feet bend around the pedals. These are not that, but I feel that they are genuinely perfect for anyone who likes something more stiff than that super bendy toe bends to the heel shoe. In regards to the Wildcat and the stiffness of the bottom of the shoe, it's honestly the exact same stiffness as the Powerline. The only reason that they don't bend as much right now is because there's only 1 month of riding on these versus 3 months of riding on these. So, like I said, exact same stiffness, and there's not much else to say beyond what I've already said. When it comes to the coaster, they're slides. There's not a shoe here to keep them supported. Of course they bend, which is actually something that for you guys who like the bendy shoes, they're kind of stiff as far as actually bending them here goes, but then at the same time they bend around your pedals. So I know these aren't meant to be a riding shoe replacement, but we're talking about each category of every single shoe here, so we still needed to cover the stiffness in regards to the coaster slide. And in all reality, these things genuinely feel like a shoe without the rest of the shoe. That being said, we can move on to the next category on my list, and that is weight, where I'm going to read off of here. So the Powerline shoe weighs 435 grams. The Wildcat weighs 482 grams. Then the coaster slide, I'm not totally sure because it says on their website 312 grams and 268 grams. I'm not sure what the difference is there. Take these for what they are. I don't know a lot about the weight of shoes. All I know is that when you put these on, you kind of notice how light they are whenever you're walking. You just kind of feel light on your feet, and you don't really notice them on your feet other than the fact that at first you notice that they're light. And now for what I think is probably the most important category on this list, and it's part of the reason why Ride Concepts came to fruition in the first place: durability. So for the durability, I have a surprise here. Ugh. With the Powerline, we might actually have an unboxing here as well. If I can open the box. There's no going back now though. We've already opened it. So we actually have 2 pairs of shoes here. I'll save the other one for another video because it's a pair that I don't have yet. But here we go. We've got a brand new pair of Ride Concepts Powerline to compare to our used pair. So here we go. Let's look at what these are in difference. So you can see the bottom. There's a pretty big difference in the bottoms here. But like I said, these still grip just as good worn as they did when they looked like this. The sides of these shoes, obviously they are worn. You can see some wear on them, but they still look good. There's not that much to talk about here. The material around the top of the shoe here, yes, it is a little bit worn, but it's not that bad. The inside does have a slight tear, but then again, this is 3 months of hard riding multiple times a week that we're talking about here. And when it comes to the toe cap on this thing is exactly the same now as it is new. It might be a tiny bit stiffer on the new one, but I'm pushing pretty hard here and it's just barely flexing. Another aspect while we're here at the front is the microfiber toe area. You would think because you feel a breeze when you're riding and because it just kind of feels like it's a sensitive, delicate material that it would tear or rip easily. But after 3 months of hard riding, that is not the case. It's still perfect and just as perfect as it was when it's new. And with that being said, I think you guys can judge for yourselves that the biggest difference with these shoes is on the bottom. This is 3 months of riding. This is brand new. Yes, there's a little hole here, but as I've said several times now, these shoes grip exactly the same for me as they did when they looked like this. There's not much else to say here. I'm going to continue riding these shoes until the bottoms literally fall off before I start riding these ones. So that being said, let's move on to talking about the durability of the Wildcat. Like I said earlier as well, I only rode these for a month. But look at the condition of this shoe after 1 month of hard riding midsummer. This is July. Heat of the summer, riding 3, 4, 5 times a week. Bottom looks fantastic. The bottom is a little bit less grippy than on the Powerline, so naturally that means it's a little bit more durable because to make it more grippy, it naturally there's that curve there where it becomes a little less durable the more grippy that they are. That being said, look at this shoe. This is the worst of it right here. We've got a little tiny, I don't even know how to describe this. And then this tiny little mark here. The other shoe, it's got like a tiny little area right here on the sewing. And a tiny little mark right here. Same story. These shoes look great. And this is especially good whenever you compare it to some of the shoes that BMX riders ride in that literally can't be ridden in after 1 month of hard riding and just need replaced. This front toe cover here is still pretty stiff. Nothing's really coming separated from the bottoms. This is a problem we have with a lot of shoes, that the actual shoe part comes separated from the sole. This isn't an issue with any of these shoes. It's all good here. The Powerline, the sole part here is peeling just a little bit, but that is it. A tiny bit in the same spot. And I will reiterate so many times, this is after 3 months of hard riding. When it comes to the coaster slide, sorry for bumping the camera there, these are still pretty much perfect. I didn't ride in these nearly as much as I've ridden in either of the others, But I did wear these every single day of the summer when I wasn't riding, and they are still in great condition. They're a little bit dirty, obviously to be expected. As a bike rider, you know it's impossible to keep things nice and clean. So, the last thing that we have to talk about on my list is the price. When it comes to the Ride Concepts shoes, the Powerline are $150, the Wildcat are $120, and the Coaster Slides are $60. This is very comparable and in even some cases less expensive than other mountain bike shoe options that are out there. And it's kind of the most important thing, I feel, because I'm a very value-orientated person. If I'm going to be spending this kind of money for something, it better hold up and it better last. And even though I didn't have to pay for these shoes, I'm still of that same mindset for all of you out there that you want to get the bang for your buck that you paid for. And with that being said, I 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, have to recommend the Powerline shoe. Even though it's $150, this shoe has held up better than any other shoe that I've ridden in after 3 months of hard riding. Even the Tevas that I used to ride in would get holes in this area from certain tricks that I would do, and I would have to sew them up, and this is after a month of riding in them. So Powerline is where I would say to go with your money. And if you can't afford this one, check out the Wildcat. Check out some of their low top options. You might notice that the color has worn off of this area from hitting the crank arms, but that is just the color. The material itself is still good, and it's exactly the way that it was. Tiny little tear here. For all intents and purposes, these shoes are going to last you. They're just going to last you. That's all I have to say. Buy the Ride Concepts Powerline because it's going to last you and it's going to give you your money's worth. If you can't afford the $150 price tag, but you do still want to have something that is going to be protective and durable, maybe consider the Wildcat or some of their low top options, which are $100 and $130 respectively. These are still a great option too. Yes, they're not the clouds that go on your feet that the Powerlines are, but they're going to protect your feet, they're going to grip well, and they're going to last more than a month of riding. And to top this all off, if you guys need some flip-flops and you want to have something with a riding bottom on it that is also extremely comfortable with this metatarsal support, I have a code for a free pair of coaster slides that I'm going to be giving away in this video. And all I'm going to do to give this code away is I want you guys to comment below what shoes you wear when you ride and pick a number between 1 and 1,000. Whoever gets closest to this number without going over it before next week when this video comes out, so it's going to be Tuesday of the following week, wins a free pair of these shoes. With all of that being said, in what is probably a very long video at this point, I hope you guys found what you were looking for with this video, and I hope that you have found your new shoe of choice, because I genuinely believe in Ride Concepts, and I'm not just saying that because they sent me these shoes. I'm saying that coming from a position where I only rode the Tevas years after they stopped making them, and these have outdone them and lasted longer for me as far as the outsides and durability of them go. That being said, thank you for being here. If you're finding your way here from somewhere else, please consider hitting the subscribe button below so that hopefully we will see you tomorrow for another video. Enter the giveaway. You could wear yourself a free pair of these awesome flip-flops, and be on the lookout because I have 4 other codes that I'm going to be giving out for a free pair of these shoes. It's going to be on Instagram, potentially at Ray's in person, so be on the lookout, and I hope that I see you tomorrow for another video. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.